I'm Kevin Pang. I'm a research director at Lux Research, and I'm very pleased to have with us here today Margaret Dohnalek, who's the global head of technology scouting at PepsiCo. Welcome, Margaret, and thank you. So in our Lux Executive Summit, one of the dominant themes is finding value networks and partnering. So maybe you could describe to us some of PepsiCo's approaches to this.
Certainly. I think, Kevin, the future of PepsiCo's innovation is going to be built on partnerships. That's one of the reasons that we're here at the Lux Summit. It's not only provides networking, but I think, in other words, it provides us with some great feedback on some of those best practices. PepsiCo's corporation, which includes both our carbonated and soft drink beverage as well as Frito-Lay, our flagship salty snack brands, and then we have Gatorade and Tropicana and Quaker Oats. So in other words, a very diversified portfolio. The way that PepsiCo has managed to grow its business historically has been building tremendous capability and skill sets, either through acquisition or from within. If we look at the model for the future, however, that's not going to allow us to be successful, as Indra Nooyi, our CEO, has articulated. For us to be successful long term is going to require a mix of both external partnerships, mergers and acquisitions into new business areas, and all of that grounded with greater insights into evolving businesses, where those megatrends are going, as well as the understanding of those technology drivers that can either propel our current business forward or allow us to find new business opportunities based on technology so that we can evolve our business in a more sustainable way.
In terms of operationalizing your technology scouting, is it do you look for platforms, or do you go for regional markets, regional products for regional markets, regional technologies?
Good question. Most of our history within PepsiCo and technology scouting is only 3 years old. We reside in part of long-term research, which is a corporate R&D function, and a major part of our let's say responsibility is to identify both technology platforms as well as key partnerships. So as we look at the way that we are going to integrate and be able to best drive innovation within PepsiCo, we spent the first 2 years of the evolution, let's say, of the technology scouting organization with trying to define those technology platforms that are based on either megatrends or evolving technology capabilities, such as wireless technology and biomonitoring, that we think are going to be important to the consumer of the future.
You know, you mentioned something that I think is fascinating, the consumer of the future. So how does PepsiCo define that today, and to what extent do you follow it as a megatrend versus, and they may not be mutually exclusive, but actually trying to move the definition of the consumer of the future? So
maybe I'll start with a little insights into how we're looking at developing a long-term strategy, and then we can kind of build maybe some specifics into that. PepsiCo as an organization takes great pride in the consumer brands that we have on the market today. We also take with that a great deal of responsibility. We understand that with the aging society and with the growing problem of obesity around the world, even in those countries that historically have not, or historically we would never have thought would have suffered from the same situation that we have in Western countries, or Westernized countries. We understand that for us to be responsive to our consumers, our brands and our portfolio needs to evolve from fun for you, which has historically been where we've played, to better for you, and that's a big part of the innovation push, stage one. And ultimately, we want the largest part of our portfolio to play in the good for you space. So our flagship brands today, Tropicana, Gatorade, and Quaker, are helping propel us into that space. We also are bringing innovation into our Fun For You brands, making them healthier, removing salt, fat, and sugar as a way of trying to be more meaningful. as we look at that and understanding that we still value the consumer purchasing habits of today,
right,
and want to be able to evolve not only our products but our business into continued profitability, we have to understand that we need to reach consumers in a new way.
right.
So our products need to resonate not just with flavor and consumption moments in a new way, but we need to understand how our products, in some cases I'll say, need to talk to the consumer
right.
of the future.
You mentioned something that I thought was intriguing, which is fun for you, better for you,
good for you.
Which implies to me that you guys, PepsiCo has very defined business goals for each of those things with time horizons and maybe even different ways of scouting and incorporating technology and innovation. Maybe you could describe that a little bit.
Okay, technology scouting, because we're 3 to 5 years out as our focus, don't have a lot of activity in the good for you space.
Okay.
We are part of the team, so to speak, that builds sustainable partnerships. So if there is a company that has a technology portfolio that addresses both a short-term need as well as a long-term need, we will be very involved in that type of activity and be very involved in developing that partnership and making sure the partnership is successful. Our focus is much more as a team, though, in ensuring the success of the evolution of core business into the good for you space through the better for you space. The better for you space is about 3 years out.
Okay.
Some of that will be through mergers and acquisitions. A lot of it will be through new partnerships. We will look at new technologies that are going to allow our current products to have good flavor, but also have lower fat, lower salt, and lower sugar. We know how to do products well with fat, salt, and sugar. So a lot of what we're learning as a technology scouting organization is what do we need externally to be able to not just achieve our initial targets of 2015 in salt, sugar, and fat reduction, but where's the real disruptive, game-changing technology that's going to allow Lay's potato chips to achieve a 25% fat reduction target and still taste like the Lay's potato chip of today. That's the responsibility of technology scouting, because that's not the 3-year time frame. That's much more the 5 and hopefully not the 10. We're going to play somewhere in that 3 to 5 to 10-year time frame with the technologies that we bring in.
Great. In addition to, in the mind's eye of the consumer, redefining the boundaries of foods is the classification of foods themselves, like how functional, how nutritional. Does PepsiCo think about nutraceuticals, as it were, or functional foods, or even the engineering of foods? For example, polyphenols are a very exciting area of research now. To what extent would PepsiCo explore creating new foods like that?
That's an area of fairly significant dialogue within PepsiCo. Historically, Kevin, part of the challenge has been is that ingredient innovations don't drive the business as much as the brand. So for us to look at adding polyphenols, let's say, or omega-3 fatty acids to products, even those that are in the good for you category already, we don't clearly understand, and maybe the consumer can articulate for us why we should be doing that. And so, or maybe that's the question that comes to mind when we attempt to frame out these areas for innovation. Some of what I think we're looking at, and really much more of a compelling opportunity for PepsiCo's business model, is to take something as inherent as oats. We know that oats are a very healthy part of a daily lifestyle and as a daily diet. We know that Quaker services that needs, but maybe there's other opportunities for us to be more meaningful to the consumer. Rather than looking at adding an ingredient that might provide additional and more comprehensive cardiovascular benefit, let's say, to oats, polyphenols or something like that, what we are looking at is maybe a much more ownable strategy, and I think maybe in some cases a much more important strategy, is for us to look at the nutritional profile of oats and how can we better advantage oats genetically, not through genetic manipulation, but through selection of varietals that will allow for better processing where nutrients are retained during the oat flaking process, let's say, or when the consumer heats it up in a microwave, the oat has better flavor and maybe a little bit better fiber content and things. If we look at trying to advantage our portfolio that way, it's much more of a linear innovation thought process for PepsiCo. It's also really much more meaningful, we believe, to the consumer in the marketplace. Those are not going to be short term. So as we in technology scouting try to determine the best opportunities for us to source technology and partner with companies to build the pipeline of the future, we're looking at agricultural sciences or our agro and crop science innovation needs as a real pillar, in addition to biomonitoring and wireless communication technology that might service other areas of existing brands. I think the crop science is a really a true unlock for PepsiCo, and one we're excited to see that Lux is also engaging in. It's going to be good for all of us, I think.
We have a shared interest. Very exciting, Margaret, and thank you very much for being with us today.
Yeah.